Peace, peace. Welcome to another unusual podcast, Beyond the Veil podcast, an unusual podcast. Your hosts, the Cancerian Creed. Yes, indeed. The Sentient Senator. Featuring the Black Sun Shaman. Para-exorcist. Yes. Getting rid of those parasites. Yes. Welcome to our 15th episode. I'm Jay Drizzy. My man T. What's going on, bro?
What's going on to you and everybody who will tune in today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a hot one for you today.
Whew. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Just do your research. Thanks for tuning in, present and future. Also past. Thanks for the new subscribers. And we hope to continue to build the audience. You know, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. You know. Yeah, man. Hot topic today is one that's been covered quite a bit in recent years. Something that's always had my attention and interest, you know, in further discovery and discussion. We are talking about, are they our brother's keeper? The Boule, the so-called black bourgeoisie, so-called black gatekeepers, leaders, so-called handlers, Council of Chiefs. Going to touch on, you know, some connections here with the different houses that are skin folk, not necessarily kinfolk, come out of or are part of in what they call secrecy. Not so secret in some ways as far as the awareness of their presence, but in understanding of their purpose, the order,
the inner workings.
The inner workings, right? The you know, the passing of information in not so public, you know, open clandestine form. And yeah, man, let's get into it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
Interestingly enough, like before we even get into it, like I know there are some people that are a part of these organizations that may tune in today, you know what I mean? And let it be said that everybody doesn't know. Like we were talking earlier, there's information that only people who are in the upper registers of this or the upper positions of these organizations that are privy to certain information. So a lot of people are just useful members, and they just help to fulfill agendas that they know not. I mean, even some of their initiatory processes, you know, state that they have to be blindly obedient in one way or another. So we do understand that, and we're not speaking personally about anyone.
Indeed. And we're also not professing to know the inner workings in totality of how these things are run or the orders that certain people may be under or agendas that they may be fulfilling, because there are circles within circles, and usually the further inward the circle, the more knowledge and control is held, you know, authority, so on and so forth.
It seems like the more of your own, as I've been examining these over the years, it seems like the more of your own control that you're willing to give up, the higher of a position that they're willing to trust you with. Like if you're willing to say, I don't care who's telling me what to do, I'll do it. I don't care what's being told to do, I'll do it for, you know what I mean, for my group. Once you get to that level of protection or that level of blind obedience, they seem to immediately, you know, lift you up in position.
Absolutely, absolutely. The more committed to the order as opposed to the individual will,
Exactly.
the higher the rank, you're dealing with being held, and the more trust with certain information, secrets, uh, etc. You're given, um, or allowed to be privy to. So, um, yeah, man, let's kick this off. So we started off talking to you with, using the title with the Boule, also known as, in some circles, as the bourgeoisie.
Sigma Phi Pi.
Yeah, Sigma
Um,
Sigma Pi Phi. Yeah, Sigma Pi
Sigma Pi.
Phi.
Yeah, yeah.
Founded in 1904 AD, right? The common era. For those of you who don't subscribe to the AD versus BC.
If you want to see their symbology or their logo or that, you can look on what's that basketball player's chest.
Oh, LeBron James. Yeah.
Yeah, you can look on LeBron's chest and you can see what the emblem for that organization is.
Most certainly. Most certainly. I think I might have an image here in a moment. I can go ahead and share. Uh, but yeah, man. So when you first came to me with this topic was what, months ago. Um, Something we've discussed in private conversation, of course, many times about that, y'all. But yeah, go ahead and share a little bit. What inspired you to want to tackle this conversation?
Oh, you gonna ask me that? Well, for me, it was the beautiful coming together that happened at the Million Man March. I saw all of those people come together and was very excited about what they were doing. I got on the bus with my family and we went down there to the march, and there were many buses coming from Detroit and going down to the march, and I'm just so ready for things to go. At the end of it, we just went home. You know what I mean? And we didn't have too much of an agenda to do anything, and so that got me on a pathology of looking at the history of the leader of that particular event. And as I looked into his history, I started to discover things that he was involved with that I didn't think were in alignment with the ideology of their organization. He had direct involvement with Scientology here in Detroit. I saw some of his members going into the facility, and then when I went into the facility and asked about it, because they told me, yeah, that they have members of the NOI who goes to classes there on a consistent basis. And so that got me really looking in. And then I saw pictures of him getting a honorary degree from Masons and shaking hands with Prince Hall Masons and things like that. And so it then got me on the path. That's what started it. And then that got me on the path of unfoldment that led me to the discovery that many of the comedians, um, um, black activists, um, black power organizations, um, all had well, not all, but the majority of them had leaders who were involved in this organization. And then some of them didn't start out like that. Some of them were infiltrated by these individuals after they began. But yeah, that's what started my path, was the result of the Million Man March. Yep,
Indeed.
there it is on his chest. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
For me, it started. I would say about 12 or 13 years old. Started to receive letters from these various organizations, some of which I had seen logos in, various towns when, I would travel with family, or church organizations, or youth organizations to play in sporting events, or like Kiwanis League. We had a Shriners parade every single year. I noticed at St. Jude there was a the St. Jude's Hospital for Children, for cancer research and all the various, terminal illnesses. Make-A-Wish Foundation. I would notice the Shriner name being mentioned or displayed, within a lot of these fundraising, charitable, events. So it made me interested in learning who these people are, what they're really about. Are they just civic people who want to, take care of the community, upbuild and uplift the community? And there is a lot of that present. Once again, we're not here to disparage any particular or specific members, not even the names mentioned per se. Once again, we can only go off of what we have researched and what we have experienced as it pertains to, any particular individuals or even grouping of names associated. But we noticed some connections. And, like I said, like, share, subscribe. If you want to join in, make comments. If you have anything to contribute from a realm of or area of knowledge or gnosis that you want to make us aware of, or the audience to share in the conversation, you can feel free to do so respectfully. We don't want to tolerate any nonsense. And I just want to shout out right now, Schwable Room channel, YouTube channel, Schwable Room, all the affiliates, Tank, Eddie P, Miss Kiki, Beatdown Brown, my main man, Handsome Mandela, my main man T, so on and so forth. Dark Strange, Big Diesel, shout out to the families in the and prayers. There was an explosion at the Chase Bank in Youngstown, Ohio. It made national news. There was at least one death and some injuries there. Very ornate old building, but there's an interesting connection as far as namesake and organization, as far as Chase Bank with the current subject matter. We may or may not get around to that one in this episode, but just those that know, not saying that there's any conspiracy behind the explosion. It was a natural gas line that wasn't so secure or strong any longer, and very old building.
And a plane flew into a building on 9/11.
Right. Well, a missile with wings, allegedly. So, hey, But here's the photo you were speaking of with LeBron James, clearly displaying with pride, his membership. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, he did not attend college that I'm aware of. Not sure that. Anyway, there was a time where even Baba Dick Gregory, may he rest in power, spoke on his membership within said organization and explained that at some point in time, one point in time in history, they were not looking for the athlete. They were not looking for the black celebrity or the musician. They were only interested in those who had reached some level of academic excellence or success and went into certain fields where they were considered to be elite or prominent in their field of practice or study, like medicine, law.
So do you think he was saying that to say that because I also heard him speak about basketball players and other sports people, and he used to call them like filthy animals and have bad commentary in relation to them. Do you think that was his disgust with where the organization had gone over time?
I think partially, in part. I think also what he was trying to say is that some of the people who were considered to be black elites that had earned their stripes were not put in those positions because of an association with the organization, and that they also were getting a bum rap because they had no affiliation with the organization. but people's perception was that they were. For example, like a Dr. William Cosby, also known as Bill Cosby. He became a comedian, but he was a very accomplished musician and at one time a pretty good athlete. And so it was interesting because they passed on him, but there were certain others that it would be questionable as to what their purpose for recruitment would have been. And also, I don't know that there was any rivalry with him, Baba Gregory and Dr. Cosby, but they definitely didn't see eye to eye. They did share a common friendship with one.
And a common organization, potentially.
Potentially. But there was definitely an association with Hugh Hefner that they both shared. Hugh Hefner, shout out to Hugh Hefner. For those that know, but he put on a lot of our people and others that were not given conventional means to inroads for success. May or may not have agreed with his exploitation, of course, of young women based upon their appearance or their physical attributes. But he definitely did do some good as it pertains to, his relationship with certain people. And I don't know that he had any affiliation with any secret organization, but he definitely was a self-made man as far as most accounts go. So, there's LeBron with the Sigma Pi Phi, Boule. Some people call it the Sphinx. I think another name for it in Egyptian is Har and Akhet. Definitely an ancient or older symbol, representing, those who are keepers of the path to enlightenment or gateway.
Keepers of the path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A person who has to be shouted out in this subject matter, rise in power, rest in peace. Steve Coakley.
Indeed. We cannot do an episode like this without the mention of Brother Steve Coakley.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He mentioned, you said keepers of the path, and it brought me back to something that he stated about the purpose of the Boule. He said that the purpose of the Boule, and he put the membership at about 3,000 heavily melanated men or black men, if that's what you want to, if that's what you associate with. So it was 3,000 black men, and their purpose was to protect the personage and identity of a member of the ruling class, or what we commonly call what is commonly called over here is the 1%.
Yes.
That's the 12 primary families, or however you know what I mean, explain that. But the Steve Coakley said that the main objective of the Boule was to protect the identity and personage of a member of those families. And interesting to know, even further, what was Elijah's teacher's name?
W.D. Farad Muhammad.
Yeah, and he was according to them, he was a half black and European, or half Native American and European. I mean, half black and white, half black and white. You know what I mean? That's what he was, mixed race, right?
Yeah, I believe his father was of African origin.
Oh, okay.
Possibly Cushitic, and his mother was of Syrian or Turkish, if not both. The original white people.
Oh,
the Caucasian.
Oh, okay. Well, that was Elijah's teacher, and then he disappeared, and his identity was kept away after he went through the prison or whatever. He vanished into thin air, and nobody saw or heard from him again. And then later on, they got circulating around online. Don't know how valid it is or not. They have circulating online that he continued his life within amongst the organization, went on to have children from amongst the organization and to be protected by the organization. Not to say that that's true or false, that's speculative theory, but that speculative theory is in alignment with what Steve Coakley said the purpose of Sigma Phi Pi is, and that is to protect the identity and personage of a member of the royal family for a position of power. So, that's interesting.
Very much so. Very much interesting. I was trying to pull a photo up here.
Oh, is that Sammy in the background over there? in the Motzfa, or what does they call that? What do they call that? The Motz, a member of no. It's that outfit that he got on is the specific a specific group of Masons. They Motz.
The Knights of Malta.
My Knights of Malta. That's them. Yep, Malta. Yep, the Knights of Malta.
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
There's WD Fard Muhammad. That's just a photo, a rendering, a photograph. Sorry about that. So, but you see here we have the. Where did it go?
Oh, it's behind you. It's in your background. I'm looking at it in your background.
Oh yeah. I brought up the background there for the.
Yeah.
But this,
okay.
These are some core members, and of course, there's some connections to some very prominent people's downfall in connection to some of these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting if someone wanted to embark on that journey of discovery, and there's plenty of material available and content on YouTube. There's a brother that has a channel called UBTV. Shout out to UBTV. We don't know each other. I would love to have conversation and introduction to the brother, but he puts out excellent content. He gives a lot of detail-oriented history on the organization and its members. They went public. I want to say, what was it, 1990 or 1991? As far as like publicity for the organization. In fact, here's an example of said publicity. This is something I came across within the past couple of days. Stories of the Ages, Black History, Freemasons. Okay, right here. This is Prince Hall. Sorry, give me 1 second.
That's right. That's funny. You said this is Prince Hall, and I just thought, so you have Boule as one fraction, and then you have the Prince Hall as another fraction, and both of these are useful members for these orders.
Indeed. Oops, sorry about that. Abrupt interruption.
And then, well, get into that here.
The entrance to the King David Lodge is lined with photos.
And Gregory Vincent, who leads Beta Sigma Boule International, was also in attendance tonight.
See how short that was. So they just do a little bit of PR, and then they,
I better warn you, I got a black belt in karate.
Oh, snap. There's a lovely Pam Grier.
Slapping somebody in the face with a chair. That's what we should have did. Oh, no.
Yeah. We don't advocate for the committing of violent activities, but interestingly enough, you had some points that you had pulled up, some bulletin points on membership within the organization. I thought would be enlightening for the audience as well.
Yeah. So the reason that I pull this up is because, you know, a lot of times it's called a secret organization, and people will say there's nothing secret about it. All of the information is available, and other things along those lines. But it is a secret society. The further you get in, the more of the hidden instructions and the hidden identities are revealed to you as you climb the ranks. So this is a part of an initiation. This is a degree from an initiation. And I just wanted to read this to you so that you can understand the level of secrecy that they operate in as a prerequisite. This is for a neophyte. So in order to be a neophyte, you have to already have been a Mason, and then you're going into another circle. So before you go into another circle, these things have to be addressed and agreed to before you can proceed any further. So,
indeed.
So the one is, number one, obedience to the head of the order, known or unknown. This could be readily given because there is nothing personal, because nothing personal was asked or demanded of any man. So that means that you have to follow instructions whether you know who is giving them to you.
The unseen hand.
Right. That's what. Yeah. The unseen hand.
Which is the gesture you see in a lot of photographs with certain prominent men or women in certain instances, where their hand is within inside the lapel of one side of their jacket or another, letting you know actually what path they're following. And
isn't there a secret pocket that they sew into those?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a secret pocket. I don't want to say secret pocket because everybody knows. I mean, secret, concealed. A concealed pocket, isn't it sewn with under the? So if you're wearing a suit, there's a pocket there too.
Yeah, there is in some instances, and there is also something written.
Okay.
And it's tucked in there.
Okay, so I want to read another point with that. With us saying that, I would like to read another point on this list that's showing the level of secrecy that they operate in. It says, no tangible instructions were ever placed into the hands of a neophyte until he had first taken a sacred vow to so arrange that these instructions would not fall into the hands of the profane, and provided for their safe return.
Can we stay here for just a moment? Let's dally around. Let's hover, as they say, around that. Could you read that again, please?
All right. No tangible instruction was ever placed into the hands of a neophyte until he had taken a sacred vow to so arrange that these instructions would not fall into the hands of the profane, and provided for their safe return. Can I just read 7 too? It pertains to the 6th one. I just want to read how deep it goes to keep their secrecy. 7 says, provisions for protection of all written and printed instructions was compulsory, so that in case of an accidental death, all instructional material would be safely returned.
So I just want to go on ahead here and boldly share this here with you. This could get kind of heavy, but all right. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So when you mention a profane, for those of you, and I'm not propagating nor am I advocating for any religion or particular spiritual path for anyone. That is completely up to you. But I just want to show you, let's set this up a bit. We've talked about some things in previous recent podcasts that they do tie into this, but it's very subtle and yet very powerful. I'm going to start with the marquee verse within this text. All right. So verse 16, this is Hebrews 12. Just want to let you see this. All right. So verse 16. Well, let me go ahead back to verse 15 first. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby be defiled, lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So even though he begged for forgiveness, he could not be forgiven because he really didn't change his mind. He was only sorry that he was called out for his erroneous choice, right? So go ahead.
So he sold his estate and was
he sold out his birthright, and he was referred to as profane. And so it alludes that fornication and even what we call profanity has to do with breaking an oath that was sworn before one was even manifest in the material plane of existence. And that would be tied to, I guess, an estate. So when we look at those who've sworn these vows and these oaths, and they have credos and sayings that basically speak to them having no loyalty to any vow or oath above that of the organization that they swear unto themselves, as one earlier text within what people call scripture states that God swears unto his throne, right? Which actually deals with the feminine aspect of theos, which is the highest level of godship within the Greek school of thought. So now we're dealing with men and women who have vowed themselves to a pan-Hellenistic council. Pan-Hellenistic, Hellenes dealing with those who are connected to Hella. Now we're talking about an old cult, but not an ancient one. And we're dealing with literally what it sounds like, okay? But we'll get into that a little later. I digress a bit just to make the initial point I started with. And that is, they swear an oath that is above any other oath. So that would be above marriage vows. That would be above if they belong to a military organization or branch. It would be to swear the supreme loyalty to this particular circle above any other commitment that they have in life.
Steve Coakley also said that the first black millionaire in the U.S. was a spy.
That would be what a gatekeeper is. That would be what an overseer is. They're listening, they're ear hustling everything that's being said. I mean, even within the church houses, anything that is a house, a temple, a lodge, we're dealing with the reinvention of the longhouse, for example. For those of us who know our ancestry, the Haudenosaunee Longhouse Confederacy or confederations, the other longhouses, whether they be Muskogean, whether they be Iroquois, whether they be, forgive me, Algonquin, whether they be Siouan, these were in this land the precursors to the reinvention of the lodges, the sweat lodges, the spiritual centers that were located on certain grid points that were manipulated and switched over to a new order under a different architect and patterned after another archetype other than that of their original ancestry. You know,
So
to make a one-minded. You get what I'm saying? A singular-minded, singular focus takeover.
so yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, so then that would mean that the behavioral patterns of these groups may not have initially been for the detriment of anyone or for the betterment of these particular families. These particular families may have infiltrated these organizations, and they have become what they are today.
Absolutely. So I'm
Wow.
going to go into show another verse within the same text.
So they call them the Council of Chiefs. They actually name these individuals as chiefs, which is reminiscent of native culture in America, the longhouses and everything like that, the Council of Chiefs, all of that.
I wouldn't say native. I'd say original, because remember the first groupings of Europeans that had established residency, if you would, here. They were people without land. In fact, the publishing company that controls the publishing rights to the Bible, the Quran, and several other so-called holy books is named Zondervan. And then when you go into the meaning of Zondervan, it means those who are without land. So they were seeking someone willing to sell their birthright. And this text is why I'm highlighting this text for those who would understand how someone in one of these organizations might interpret what is taken by the lay people for granted as clear as mud. Okay, verse 1. This is Hebrews 12, and when you and I have discussed this verse, and I just thought it was relevant to today to share with the audience. It says, wherefore seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So now, I mean, I could go into various layers on this. I'll try to keep it simple for now.
It is layered for sure.
Yeah, until we're ready to teach like a whole lesson. And when I say ready, I don't mean prepared, but I mean like organized, more organized in conveying the thought process. But this is basically talking about ancestors. We also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. And it's basically warning us against becoming a servant of sin, which symbolically speaking, we spoke literally speaking on a previous episode. I want to say it was our last Freestyle Friday. Kind of went into how sin is an entity. It's an energy. It's a being. He was the son of the first grape, or SA, as they call it on social media. I don't want to get shadow banned or anything. Not to say that we already aren't, but hey. And he was born of a union that was forced upon his mother. We put it that way. And so this entity was also the old man of the mountain, also known as the waning crescent moon god, also called Nanar. But this is very real. And the elements of these entities that were referred to in some instances as sky gods and in some other instances as the fallen, I would go more so with a balance of both, because you do have a split faction within that family, both etherically and literally in the physical plane, that has been documented. So when you deal with the Bible, you're dealing with adaptations of these original stories. Okay. Just for the audience sake, I know you know T, but they're talking about basically the witness cloud of witnesses that has been encompassed round about us, and a lot of us forsake because we are told by religion that is improper, it is anti-Christ, even though the Christ consciousness is what tethers us to that cloud of data that comes from our DNA and its connection to our ancestors. So there's an eternal warning going back as far as you can fathom existence being in existence. And organizations like this will have you swearing oaths that cancel those particular tethered connections that are placed there for your benefit in material and spiritual ways, in exchange for their protection, their admonishment, encouragement, judgment, direction, etc.
So with this viewing of them having no land, a lot of people give their land. It's a prerequisite that you have a religion in order to enter some of these upper circles. Okay, it's a requirement. No atheist is acceptable. Matter of fact, should I read that one?
Yes, absolutely.
It says, number 8, no atheist was acceptable. Church affiliation itself was not questioned, even by the members of the Church of Light. A man's religious belief belongs to him and is between himself and his God. So it's an atheist cannot join the upper echelons of this organization. They have to be in submission, or in one of the religion already, in order to be able to excel into the inner circle. But as you continue to read the initiation process, they have to be a part of an organization of religion, and they have to know that it is not true.
Careful now.
Because I'm gonna let that sea lie for a moment. You know what I mean? They have to be, in order to be initiated into the upper ranks, they have to have a religion, and they have to know and confess that religion is not true. So now all of the money that comes into these organizations, all of the people who pass away and leave their land and estate to these organizations, were encouraged by a faith that looked like theirs to a expected end, to give land to those who have none, to help anyway. But yeah, something to pay attention to and to focus on, because they say that we've heard names of prominent leadership as being part of these organizations. I think one of the speculative members was T.D. Jakes. And
do we have any evidence on that?
On T.D. Jakes?
Not to put you on the spot. I just wonder if you come across it.
I can't. I'm gonna have to go look at it. I think I do. I think I went through and did find the information, but we'll include it in another episode, or I'll include it in the comments down below. But I think I do have him at a lodge. I do have him at a lodge. And then, interestingly enough, we talk and as we're talking about this. And when these people are standing in front of these organizations, they're taking minutes. They're having meetings where they take minutes so that they can keep record of everything that's occurring within these organizations, and that is of great importance. You know what I mean? So if there is a leader who is in one of these organizations who doesn't believe that is true, then what are they doing with the minutes? But anyway, I don't know. It's just a thought. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. I got you. While you were talking about while you were reading what they have listed as a Church of Light, I came across something interesting in Japan. And I will just share some of the images here briefly. Here we go. So, yeah, this is the Church of Light in Japan. That's, I guess, the sanctuary area. Very interesting architecture. Let's see here. Yeah, so nothing too unusual, but a big old cross in the center of a wall. And I can't tell if this is the front or the back of the sanctuary. Looks like it's the front, because I see a rostrum with a mic stand, and I see some lights, additional lights to the left and right of it. But yeah, just thought it'd be interesting to share that image there. So this obviously, that wasn't an ancient church or some older church that's a part of their what they're mentioning, but there's definitely the concept apparently with other paths, and I'm not sure who's behind that particular man in Japan designing that church in particular either, but just thought it was interesting to note. And then I saw there's a lady, Our Lady of Light, and then there's the Church of Light, which is an academy. What is wrong with me? An Academy of Hermetic Arts here, Facebook page. Somebody wants to go and check that out, But they're just, man. So all right, I mentioned Hermetics, right? So a lot of these organizations, they will take you into Hermetic thought, based upon Hermes Trismegistus, who was
Stolen information.
Yes, and also conflation of someone who was considered to be an embodiment of an ancient deity or a god named Thoth. Some refer to as Tahuti. They make reference to the Emerald tablets, and then certain initiates have come into the awakening of the Emerald tablets through a system or a a group of writings called Kabbalion. Okay.
A common title for that one, if you want to look it up, is the Three Initiates.
Right.
And the Three Initiates, interestingly enough, there is an organization that's Europe and Russia based that is called the Council of Three.
Yep.
But
You want to expound on that one?
no, but I would like to read this because if I expounded on that one, it would take a minute. But remember, I just said that you had to be a part of religion but acknowledge it wasn't true. Well, while we were sitting here, I was able to find the portion of the neophytes initiation that spoke directly to that. So I'm just read that for them real quick so that they can hear it. It says, questioner, very good. Did you even try to attain virtue by means of religion? Question mark. Answer, no. For I believe religion as I have known it to be contrary to the truth. I have also been an atheist. Then do you seek the truth with a view to obeying the laws of life? Consequently, you seek virtue and wisdom. Yes. Just so you have an understanding. So I believe religion, but I know it's not true.
Mm-hmm. So the word atheist, the prefix a.
Theist.
On, in, or at. Right? On, in, or at. A. Theist. Let's do the math on that one. Let's see. A person who believes in the existence of a god or gods, notice those are lowercase, specifically of a creator who intervenes in the universe. Denoting or relating to belief in the existence of a god or gods, specifically a creator or one who intervenes in the universe. Pretty much. So, on in the creator within. So a true atheist would believe that the creator is within them and that they are within the creator. For example, like a man that referred to as Yeshua, Jesus, Yahashua, Yahushua, Jesus.
Whoa! 12 houses.
Yeah.
12 1% families.
Yeah, really. Remember, he said there was rooms. There were rooms in his father's house. There were rooms in his father's house. In my father's house, there are many rooms or mansions. Or maybe he was saying within his father's house, there were many other houses. The father's house being so vast that it could fit other houses.
So their houses and logos and robes and estates that are used for these 12 families, and doing research for them, I have discovered that they were not constructed or originated in their possession. These were estates that they attained throughout their conquest and colonization.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. So if we see the Council of Chiefs as being a mimic of a preceding culture of original inhabitants here, and they're just mimicking it, then on a larger scale, could the Jewish, excuse me. No. Let's not say that. The 12 families that are considered 1% in speculative theory, could they also too be mimicking a freestanding houses of natives?
Well, of course. I would think so. But I might be a little biased. I can admit that. And I mean, let's go into the next house. Real briefly here. Let's see. Present.
The entrance to the King David Lodge is lined with photos and trophies. Among all the statues and memories rests Psalm 133. Behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
All masonry is, whether it's Freemasonry or ancient accepted Freemasonry, is to serve the community, serve the public, and those men of good character just willing to help their fellow neighbors.
We do not own the rights to this video. This is on YouTube, and this is under Stories of the Ages, Black History, Freemasons, 2013. This was 2/22/2013. Interesting year, 222. I'm going to leave that alone for now. There is a very large significance, as I'm sure you've picked up on that. Okay, he's opting not to comment as I cannot. All right, so we'll go back to.
I just happened to be looking down at the USS Western World and the House of Elias at the time, so it had my attention.
Absolutely. So fair use. This is not our video. We don't own the rights. This is only for reaction and commentary purposes only, and you know.
And that's something that I do want to clear. Oh, that's something that I do want to clarify. I know people will come on here and say, "Why do you speak negatively about your own people?"
Mm-hmm.
And I want to address that real quickly. I don't only address them. We don't only address them. They are a subservient group. They're a subgroup. The reason that they're addressed specifically is because they have the most close relations with people who we share space, family, mental capacity with. So, you know, we address them because I'm not going to address the guy that's on the east side doing something when there's a guy in my own neighborhood doing something. I got to address the guy in my neighborhood first so that my children and my family and my community is a safer space. This is like neighborhood watch right here.
And indeed, what was alluded to earlier in our opening of this conversation, these I really do. I hate to talk about what appears to be our own people in such a manner, but I mean, in the words of Malcolm X, you have the house slave or house nigger and the field nigger, and I don't see that either of them are better than the other, because when I say field nigger, I'm talking about, as you referred to, the spies, the field operatives and agents.
When you get a degree from college, you go to work in your field, right?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
All right. And you can also go from being an associate to being your bachelor rather, and then attain the master's degree. And if you'd like to go even further, you could gain a doctorate in your master's field of education or study.
So when you get a master's, that makes you management?
That would make you upper management.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you would be upper management in the field of expertise.
Correct. And in the bachelor's, you'd be an overseer, a bishop.
Okay.
And as an associate, you'd be a lower level henchman and enforcer. Not quite an overseer, but definitely an executor of the will of the master to some degree. And yes, puns all intended. But I'm going to go ahead and share the rest of this very short video, because we're not here to try to bash. We just want to let you see for yourself.
Black Freemasonry was born in Boston, Massachusetts shortly before the Revolutionary War. The organization found its way to Oklahoma Territory in the 1890s, and the group's principles have remained the same for more than 120 years.
Our motto is to protect our women and widows and orphans.
Former president of the King David Lodge, Kevin Cox, says the fraternal order provides a sense of community, pride, and brotherhood. The organization played a vital role in the first half of the 20th century.
Back in the 30s and 40s, when segregation was big here in Oklahoma, we could not go to the Rotary Club or the Lions Club or downtown or go to the different YMCAs or hotels or convention centers. And Masonry was what the community had to bring everybody together. As a result, Masonry, in my opinion, was the biggest organization dealing with the ills of segregation back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
King David was the biggest lodge in the state, at one time boasting 150 members. But the number of men wearing the Mason's apron has declined.
In all community-based organizations, the membership and the population.
Jay,
go on now. Go on and say it.
He said that he wanted to protect the people who was orphans and widows.
Right on.
Orphans and widows are in a unique position if they have any land. You know, that just, I'm gonna leave that alone.
No, please don't leave that alone. That's imperative. That is key.
Widows, and especially when you're dealing with women who, when you deal with the culture of original people here, women were the possessors of the land. So of course, if they do not have anyone to leave it to, you would like to swoop into that position if you were trying to acquire some land. And orphans who have lost their parents are also left land. So if you get on their good side or develop them within your organization to be in key positions, then you also have an opportunity there to.
Yes, which ties into another title, apprentice. If you have a master, you also have an apprentice. And you also with apprenticeship laws. As shout out to Dane Calloway and to I want to say it's Tanisha Calloway, his wife. Absolutely wonderful channel. I'm just here to make you think. It's a great channel. But yeah, they brought out some information a while back about apprenticeships and the apprenticeship laws that were implemented in places like Louisiana, Virginia, some of the other antebellum southern states where they literally passed laws where they could take indigenous or aboriginal or original, however you want to verbiage. I'm not trying to get into a debate over that. But their children by a certain age, usually around 12 or 13, the age that I was when I started receiving those letters telling me how I could influence people and I could learn how to plant thoughts in their head and I could get what I wanted. And they could teach me all these secrets about basically being a person of power and control within society. And anyway, they would take these children using these laws that stated that their parents were unfit or unable to take care of them to a civilized standard of their calculation of what the law should be. And they would place them with these masters and they would become their apprentices at their estates. Now, mind you, a lot of these estates were previously owned, as you stated, by the maternal or matriarchal figures of prominent families that were already here. And they would have oftentimes have likely gained control of those estates and then trained these children how to run these estates and other businesses the way that they would run them from the other side of the water. I'm just trying to be as...
You made me have a whole new respect for gangs. In the sense that when I view these houses, they got the blue house, the red and black house, then you got Crips, Bloods, who all represent different color combinations.
Yeah, and they have very different energies.
Yep, very different energies. Now this takes me back in thought process to us as people around the world, different colors, root races, and things like that. And then if we were operating as tribal groupings and these estates previous to that, then it was taken over and infiltrated by someone else. Of course, you would have a rogue development that is, and that rogue development would be what would be considered gang. And the gangs, because I know what they were doing, most of them originated. I know the Black Panthers did for a fact. And I know that in the growth and development direction that they were going in, it was a certain group was going into a direction of growth and development. Those two organizations were to protect the people from the treachery being implemented by the police at that time. They were protecting their people from them and the financial destitute nature of the community.
Okay, you went into some very heavy areas. So to catch up to you and also add to some of the missing pieces of what you're saying, you didn't really leave anything out, but there's a way to implement a small amount of detail that will kind of clear this up for some people that haven't already come into this revelation, right? Quickest way to justify the oppression of a people is to make them illegal or make it illegal to be them. So take on titles, for example, like black, which is always a word that precedes Boule. And even when they speak in reference to our people, they make references to African Americans and Black Americans, Afro, which is a hairstyle, Americans, and also at one point in time, it was an ethnicity within the Polynesian, Melanesian, Micronesian, etc. groupings of people within certain island chains.
Afro-Atlanteans.
You can go back. But, even the authorship that kept relayed the modern, the ancient record into modern times, the use of that term is still erroneous because it implies a hairstyle or just an ethnicity when they in fact were a priesthood of the sun.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that is tied up in or within and contained within the secrets of these organizations. And it's an intentional concealment from the non-initiates or the profanes to their identity, their true identity. Because then if they had the knowledge of their true identity, they could then claim what is their birthright. So I want to make you a good African, so I send you to a historically black college university that was funded by Zionists in most instances, so that you could be educated and programmed into becoming a good African in your former original homeland. So you can take on the mindset of a refugee, of a stranger in the land of your own ancestors, and never lay claim to what has been left behind for you, but always keep your sights over another sea or another body of water to a land that you didn't originate from, while the science which comes from the northern land of that particular area of the geographical maps, Europa, I'm sorry, it's the northern African, and I'm only using the geography when I'm saying African, but the northern tribes of that land moved up into this land that they named after an ancient goddess within their linguistic system, pronounced Europa. Okay, so you have hybrid Europeans, as Dane and Tanisha Calloway, shout out to them again, refer to them, who came up with a doctrine of out of Africa. Okay, so all of these things are connected. If you look at the time period and the timelines of the formations of these organizations, they're all spewing and supporting the same misinformation, and to the point that it becomes seen as fact, not known as fact. And you have the reprogramming of the people that's continuously going on. And every time they get closer to rediscovering their identity and their real connection to their ancestors spiritually, you have them being brought into circles where they swear oaths above.
You know what? In light of you saying that, Jay, after the Million Man March, there was some Arab affiliates that came over here and they offered Mr. Lewis $1 billion. Do you know what Mr. Lewis did when they did that?
I do, but I'm gonna let you go on and finish the story.
He went to the alphabet people to tell them that money was given to him and to ask them if he could accept it.
Okay, moving on though. I mean, that's what he said. That's what out of his own mouth. That's what
out of his own mouth. Yes, that's out of his own. Yes,
factually speaking. Yeah, that's what was said. So I mean, as we both stated.
Hey, Jay. So this big hustler in my neighborhood came by, and he dropped me off a bag of money, and then I ran and told.
No, so we're not going to do that. Nope. Thank you, brother. Your secret's safe with me. I'm going to find some legitimate ways to structure that carefully.
Especially if you had the good of your people in mind. If he saw in you a good that he could not find in himself. Anyway.
All right. See, now you went a little too far ahead. I was going to bring up the conversations with the Brotherhood that was trying to allegedly reach out to the both of us and several other of our affiliates, and couldn't give a good reason other than they see a wealthy man in us that they wanted. But let's finish this video because it's very short, and I just want another perspective.
Is dropping, but we are losing members through attrition. And our young people don't understand that because of organizations like our organizations, these youngsters can now live anywhere in Oklahoma City they want to live, go to any college they want to go to, and succeed. But they don't understand the struggle that we had to go through to provide this. And as a result, young people don't see the importance of coming in and serving the community where they were born and raised.
Shrinking membership can also lead to a smaller pool of funds, but the Northeast Metro Lodge still raises thousands of dollars through community cookouts and other opportunities. The funds raised help feed families in the neighborhoods surrounding Northeast 25th Street, providing uniforms for Little League groups and assistance for the elderly. The symbols of ancient order are prominently displayed on the exterior of the lodge and the meeting hall. The former lodge president hopes the compass and the square continue to guide the organization in the future.
I hope for the future for all Prince Hall Masonry that we continue to grow and be a viable organization in our community here in the state of Oklahoma and the nation.
You know, while he was talking, I was reminded of the Trail of Tears and the displacement of original people.
At Vistaprint, we print everything to show off your brand.
I apologize. Forgot to stop.
Yeah, while he was talking, I was reminded of the displacement of original people here. Early on, they moved them around the Trail of Tears and the displacement of people around here. So then if you displace them, and you try to keep them where they're at so that they never return from where they came, so they can't discover their identity or claim their estate. I'll give you a good job in New York if you stay out of North Carolina. Just joking.
No, you're actually speaking real talk. So you see this, right? And you see this.
I saw that.
I mean, you can believe what you want to believe. And I want to go into this. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
You good.
When you deal with hex is a curse. When you deal with gram, you deal with letters or words. Mm-hmm. So you have letters or symbols or words, which is a combination of symbols or sigils that bring about a curse. So you go on ahead and use that symbology and swear your oath if you'd like.
For you Bible thumpers out there, find me somewhere in that biblical text where that star is referred to as David's star. You can find where it's referred to as Satan's star twice, but you'll never find where it's referred to as David's star.
Or the star of Molech, who was worshipped in the ancient world, and it says that they caused their children to pass over unto Molech through the fire. And I'll let you do the rest of the research on that. They were sacrificing their children. So what is so great when you raise up
invested in schools in Africa?
When you open up posterity, when you create posterity, future posterity, and you create offspring, what is worth sacrificing that offspring? I mean, that is basically the future you. What is worth sacrificing your future for to have right now? So tying into that, conversations I've had with people that I know that are within these organizations. And I'm glad we were able to have logical, reasonable conversation. But one thing that I would ask them is, why would I exchange 365 degrees of the knowledge of self for 33 1/3? What would cause me to give up my camel in order to ride a goat or a donkey? And the answer is always given benefits and privileges. So when you understand law, you understand, especially in this country, that if you accept benefits and privileges from a governing body, you do so in exchange for your natural, God-given birthrights.
Come on, man. Come on, man. I watched them in the South telling people, they members, they'll have huge acreages of land, Jay. Huge acreages of land. Sometimes the land encompass the whole downtown area or they'll convince them, man, you don't want to stay here in this nobody town. Don't you want to come over here to this building that we got over here where it's lawyers at and other peoples of prestige to be a part of this? Man, leave this little 400 acres that don't mean diddly squat alone and come up here and live in accordance with your privilege, in accordance with your where you should be, brother.
I mean, this is just some of the alum through the Blue House, also called the Prince Hall, Nelson Mandela. And I believe that he came into that through or by way of the Royal Arch, as most of the African leaders have gone through the Royal Arch, which they're the inventors of things like the 12 tribe charts. Look it up. I'm not going to give you the game. The game is to be sold, not to be told. So you want to tune in to future sessions where I go into teaching that lesson, you're more than welcome to do so. But I'm not going to give it all up. I'm just going to share with you. You have Nelson Mandela. They named a whole process of mind fuckery, aka reprogramming, the Mandela effect. I'm sure they're not familiar with what it means. Ozzie Davis. Who's that guy down there in the left-hand corner? Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Booker T. Washington. Going back to the top. Next, is that
Marcus Garvey, the ones whose ship got sabotaged when he was trying to go back home?
Yeah, the one that got picked up for mail fraud after all
and then the one who died in England. He went back to England and he ended up dying over there in Europe somewhere, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Okay. So he just to review, he did great things for the community. He served his community well. And then he got the donations together for the ships, but the ships didn't work. And he was never able to complete the project. That sucks. That really does suck.
It was almost like a double cross of some sort. A double cross. Medgar Evers to the right. Thurgood Marshall. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over him. But we can see Sugar Ray Robinson, Jack Johnson, who they made the Mann Act. It's interesting. Trafficking, human trafficking laws, the first earliest versions of RICO, created to put a man away for 1 year in prison to take away the heavyweight championship while promoting the idea of white supremacy. This man single-handedly proved that to be not only a fallacy and a farce, but a complete joke. And then you have W.E.B. Du Bois down there. So I believe that's everyone. I named everyone. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. My man here.
The comedian.
No, in the right-hand corner.
The right-hand corner. Okay.
What is his name? Lewis. Last name is Lewis. But I've seen him before. I cannot think of his name. I apologize. So anyhow, very prominent, very well known.
I thought who is the? I can't think of his name right now. Cocaine is a powerful drug. That's his joke. What is his name?
Well, that was actually from Hollywood Stories. Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories from Dave Chappelle.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't him down there at the.
No. That's not him. That's
Oh, okay.
You talking about which way? Down here?
Yeah, in the picture you got right there in the middle, what's his name? The comedian.
Richard Pryor?
Richard Pryor, that's it. Richard Pryor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he kind of. I think he did have a cocaine as a hell of a drug type of story. He talked about
Yeah.
his freebasing and setting himself on fire and hearing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, and he talked about those crazy parties that he was privy to, where a lot of crazy stuff was going on.
Yeah, a lot of rituals and a lot of just lasciviousness. Hey, Oh, we got a comment here. Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Zach Lee. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate the new subscribers. Get the word out. We're becoming more and more consistent with the podcast, and we'd like to continue to grow. Of course, if you want to support us with donations, you can do so through Cash App. You want to give them your Cash App, T?
No, you just come over there to www.blacksunshaman.com. And if you see anything over there that you like, or you see anything over there that you want to grab as far as getting these parasites up out of your body, cleansing your blood, getting the parasites out of the brain, getting the parasites out of the lungs, so that you can have your own energy back, just come over and visit me at www.blacksunshaman.com. And you can either get what's there, or if there's something that you want, I do consultations as well, and you can set up your consultation on the website, and we can talk about and get clear what you would like to see for your body.
Absolutely, positively. www.blacksunshaman.com. But man, thank you guys for the support. Thank you for watching. This is an interesting topic. This isn't the last show we're going to do on this.
We have did this, y'all. The way the conversations that we have, this is what we just literally just scratch over the surface,
very lightly.
Very
lightly. But hopefully, most of our audience, I would say 99.99% of the audience is super intelligent, and we appreciate your input, your loyalty, your viewership, and you understand the things that were inferred, implied. Like I said, once again, these are not to disparage, discourage, or destroy the reputation of any of the men or women mentioned. In fact, we didn't really mention any of the women, but
especially not you, Kanye West. Especially not you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, the houses, we kind of didn't really get too far into the houses at all, like really just surface. But there are houses, and some of them have like color-coded names like green and brown, and they're not just DuPonts and Rothschilds and Carnegies, Mellons, and
Rothschilds and Downs,
Rockefellers and Fords. There are Kennedys. There's more than those names, and a lot of them are patterned after the original houses, and they operate on the surface, while the original houses have gone underground, so to speak, or just out front.
And then just so you can understand how deep this goes, the Skull and Bones that many of our presidents was a part of is a sub-organization of Tri.
Yep. And I mean, even with the Constitution, a lot of the Moorish brothers and sisters have already educated you all that they were patterned after on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and that was written up for the Haudenosaunee Longhouse Confederation. It's reframed and then signed by what they call founding fathers. So you have to understand that there's a new architect that entered into the new world, as they wanted to rename it. It's really the old world, and that order was started in the 1770s and beyond. So I want to say
that was great. I just gotta say, for you, that That's all. That was great. That was great. Not many people know what you just said. You know what I mean? Not many people have any idea that this organization claims ancient origin because they use symbologies of ancient people.
Correct.
They use robes and names of ancient people. They are not ancient in origin.
Not at all. If you want to know the real origins, there's a man and his brother. They were both very prominent in writing about archaeological finds, sciences, and the ancient symbols. Albert Churchward, Ancient Symbols of Primordial Man. Very, very many volumes. This isn't just one set book. There's a set collection of books written by this man and his brother. I want to say his brother's name might have been James Churchward. Don't quote me on that. It could be off. It's been a while. But yeah, Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. And then you have to understand the evolution of Freemasonry and in the infiltration of the Freemasonic order by what we are now referring to as Illuminati. They are not one and the same, and not all houses of Freemasonry are under the thumb or control of the Illuminati. The Illuminati sought to rise into power, and in order to do so, they had to gain the degrees of the various houses, and most of those houses were within Germany. So there's a Hibernian Germanic connection that was the most recent evolution of the Freemasonic order within Europe, and Germany kind of supersedes Europe. I'm not going to go too far into that. You can there are people that look very much like you and me that originated in that place, and there's a lot of knowledge and information, and a lot of it ties back into the migration of people referred to in some instances as nomadic or gypsy from the land of Shinar and Indus, and some people pronounce Aryan, or I say Aryan, Aryan ancestry, in connection to the culminating of those bloodlines together in the knowledge or gnosis that was compiled. And what's the other word that I want to use? Not just combined and compiled, but they collaborated to come up with some very interesting and powerful discoveries, spiritually and scientifically. So yeah, we appreciate you tuning in today. Let's see. Okay, all right. Exactly. Thank you. You sent a code, QR code. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching too. Yeah, so yeah, man, we coming to a close just for this episode. I hate to even let it go, but we both have things we got to get into. We started an hour late than we had originally planned, so thanks for bearing with us, those of you that stuck with us.
And just before we go, the last thing on my little mind is, man, Steve Coakley, I honor you, bro. For naming those names.
Yes.
For giving your life to make this known, and to naming names, telling us how to track the names, telling us which organizations to track, telling us which families to track, where they at. All that I appreciate and honor you, Steve Coakley. And if y'all want to look that information up and get to naming names, where it's at, years starting, who's playing, who's the players, all of that type of stuff. He got older stuff. I believe his last one was like somewhere in the early 2000s was his last video, and he lost his life in a hospital. That he woke up in one hospital that he never remembered going to, and then after he woke up there, he woke up again and found himself in another hospital. And before his family was even notified that he had went into a hospital, he was transferred to a third hospital, and he's not clear of what happened during all of those different hospitals, but it was told to him that he had a heart attack and he lost his life a couple of months later. But Steve Coakley, I honor you.
Tunnels. Tunnels. Transfers. I mean, yeah, shout out to Steve. Rest in power, rise in power. Can't wait to see you again.
Oh man. Oh man.
Should you even choose to return? But it's just, yeah, man. Transfers, underground tunnels, Knights Hospitalers. Just beware. Once again, not trying to tear down. No organization is completely evil. And when I say that, I mean not every person within the organization has made certain choices to align themselves with destruction, deception, etc., etc. And just keep in mind, man, the origins. Look into the origins of places, industries, architecture, signs, symbols.
And for those who are told to blindly follow these groups and have initiated themselves and told to blindly follow the groups, I know that that's there, but look into it so that you can discover what you're doing if you're doing something wrong unconsciously. You know what I mean? If you don't know no better, you know what I mean? That's one thing, but I'm asking you to know better. I'm asking you to know better.
Yeah, I second that request. Know better. Know for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like knowing for yourself. When you know for yourself, no one can take that from you. And like I said, choose accordingly to your alignment, basically what you're able to take on. If you'd rather ride a goat, I mean, we see the results of goat riding when you look at, Sean Combs and Sean Carter and
you look at the victimization of these people.
Yep. And I mean, once you endure being the victim and you don't seek help or escape, you become the monster that's perpetrated the evil on you. That's the way it's designed. Any advanced parasite is going to want to not only take on the use, but the appearance and eventually identity.
Is that why Prince wrote "Slave" on his cheek?
Of its host. Well, Prince wrote "Slave." Interestingly enough, we are going to go in a second, y'all. But Prince wrote "Slave" on his cheek because he found out that if the company owns the masters, despite the fact that he owned his own recording equipment, he did it in his own home, his albums in his own home. This was towards the middle of his career in the 80s. And that he had, produced, engineered, sang on, and played every instrument. If they claimed ownership through a contract of his masters, he said, well, what do I have? And they said, well, you have the slaves. And even in computer language, a slave drive is one of the secondary drives to the master drive, the master hard drive. So you have the ability to store virtual digital information that's not hardwired into the not hardwired, what's the word? That's not stored permanently, within the main drive. So that's what he found out.
And then he reinvented himself and became a symbol formerly known as Prince, kind of like Michael Jackson reinvented himself for similar reasons.
Yeah, he changed the name of his company to MJJ, Sony Epic Recordings, and he purchased half of the rights to the label And within that deal, that secured him 25% of all of the subsidiary labels and artists that recorded country and Western music.
So Prince, Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson were all good until they wanted some ownership or some independence from something.
Imagine if those three names that you just said in succession, in no particular order, but together, what they could have done as an entity. But the rules to the game don't permit them to collaborate for such things.
Yeah. And Johnny Cochran too. I just wanted to throw his name in there too. He was kind of working towards getting the estates back.
Indeed, one of the few celebrity, well, actually, one of the many celebrities I've met, just in passing, incidentally, met him in LAX back in, what was it, 98? And I was traveling with a gospel choir that I was recording with, singing with, and came across him when I went to go help pick up some of the other members of the recording choir at the LAX. But yeah, man, it's interesting how you can have by the perception of the non-initiated or the I don't want to say initiated in this instance, but non-celebrities perceive this power. But imagine having all the money you could ever wish for, purchase anything that you want as long as it doesn't really help other people that are connected to you by ethnicity, culture, credo.
Hey, Dick Gregory, they're watching me. Can you bring me some water? They're watching me, man. They're gonna kill me, man.
Notice he was the only person that Michael called besides Eddie, and I think Dick brought Eddie with him because he wanted Michael to also know that he had other friends that might not talk like him publicly and might not look like him anymore after certain changes and alterations he made to nullify certain other portions of those soul contracts that they force on you in the form of a bank loan called a recording deal. But yeah, absolutely. Even those who aren't in are in, and it's not fair. Because it's like, if you're not careful, your handler is a member. If you're not careful, you miss the fact that your brother or your auntie or your dad or your mom went to the matron meeting, and you don't have no clue, man. You just want to fucking do what you do. You want to do your art. You're enjoying being famous most of the time, except for when people are invading your privacy and taking pictures of your kids when you're just trying to go swimming, or go to the mall inconspicuously. But yeah, saying it's all choice. It's all choice. Sometimes, though, your choice will put you into a corner where you have no options. So just remember that, and be leery of rhetoric. When you keep hearing fiery rhetoric and no action, especially politically, understand that you're getting the battery put in your back so that you're the one with your head on the chopping block. And you can quote all day what that person said, even if they're a minister.
But it wasn't even 24 hours before Michael Jackson's daddy had them moving trucks at his house.
Mm-hmm.
And Farrakhan did take donations from that audience.
Mm-hmm. Now, understand this as well. The estate was left to Catherine. And Catherine was supposed to divvy the estate up for the children. That
like it originally was supposed to be.
Which may or may not be biologically his. Allegedly. But the last keepers of his safety were members of the NOI. And he trusted them immensely. And based on the biopic that I saw recently when I say recently, I mean last year, of him on Amazon Prime. They worked a lot of the time without pay, and they did keep him from being taken out. So, like I said, I am not here to make anyone's choice for them or to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm simply saying that you should look into all things and you should believe nothing and seek to know everything you can. That's all I got for you. Anything else before we go, bro?
No, that's it. You of course, the same thing I said. You're enough. You just don't. As some people just don't know it yet. You're enough. You have it already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks. This has been another episode of Beyond the Veil, an unusual podcast. Thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. Encourage others to subscribe. Join our locals on rumble.com. I want to say it's Deeper Dives on unl.com / locals. But yeah, you can join that community, man, and give us your feedback.
Shout out to the Eastern Stars
And the Prince Hall Freemasons. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Or
Peace.
day. Peace.